If you are listening to this on Christmas Eve, I want you to hear me clearly. Some betrayals do not come from strangers. They come from the person who hugs you first and hurts you last. Christmas Eve 2024 was the night my cousin Denise finally pushed too far. And this time I had receipts. Please like, share, and subscribe. These stories find the women who have been told to keep the peace, even when the peace is costing them everything. My name is Rachel. I am 48 now, and I am telling this with a year of distance. But I still remember the exact second the room changed, because my stomach dropped like I had missed a step on the stairs. Denise has always been the pretty one. The kind of pretty that turns heads at the grocery store. The kind of pretty that makes waiters laugh too hard. The kind of pretty that lets her live like rules are for other people. She is also spoiled, entitled, and allergic to consequences. If you have something good, she wants it. If you have something you love, she wants to be the reason you lose it. And if you refuse to hand it over, she calls you selfish and then cries until someone rescues her. Growing up, the adults called it confidence. They said she had sparkle. They said she was misunderstood. They said family is family. Meanwhile, I was the dependable one. The one who cleaned up after Denise and pretended it was fine. The one who brought extra napkins to barbecues because Denise always spilled something red. The one who stayed calm when she made everything about herself. It sounds small when I say it like that. But living with a person like Denise is not small. It is a slow erosion. 1,000 tiny moments where you swallow your feelings so the day does not turn into a scene. The year before prior had been hard for me. My dad had been sick. Not a dramatic sickness. A long, exhausting one. The kind that steals pieces of a person in small increments. Appointments, medications, bills, worries. And the worst part is that you still have to go to work and answer emails while your heart feels like it is permanently clenched. I have a good job. I work in compliance. I have always been steady. But when Dad took a turn, I stepped back from work and switched to a reduced schedule. I did it because I could not watch him struggle alone. I did it because I loved him. And I did it because my brother lives 2 states away and has his own life. And I did not want my dad to feel like a burden. That decision cost me money. Not because my company punished me. Because hours are hours. And when you work fewer of them, your pay changes. We made it work, but it squeezed us. Denise watched all of that and somehow decided it was her opening. She started showing up at my dad's house with flowers and selfies. She would post pictures with captions like, "Taking care of the ones who raised us." As if she had done anything but pose near his recliner for internet points. Dad did not see it. He was tired and he liked company, and Denise could be sweet in small doses. I did not want to be the bitter one, so I let it go. Then Denise asked me for money again. It was always money. Always urgent. Always unfair. Always someone else's fault. The first time she borrowed from me, it was $300. She promised she would pay it back Friday. Friday came and she had an emergency. I got $100 back and a long message about her car and her anxiety. I forgave the rest because I did not want drama. Then it was $500. Then $800. Then $200 here, $300 there. Sometimes she would repay part, and then disappear until she needed the next favor. Every time she would say, "You know I would do it for you." I knew she would not. But I kept being kind anyway. In October 2024, she called me late at night. Crying. Hyperventilating. She said she was going to lose her apartment. She said she had been scammed. She said she had to pay a lawyer, and her account was frozen, and she was panicking. She said she needed $12,000. That week, $12,000. I remember staring at the wall while she talked, feeling my heart race like I was the one in trouble. I told her I did not have $12,000 sitting around. She said, "Rachel, please." I am begging you. You know I will pay you back. This is different. I should have said no. I should have said you have not even repaid the last 800. I should have said I cannot be your emergency fund forever. Instead, I pictured her homeless. I pictured her calling my mother crying. I pictured my family saying, "Why did you not help?" I pictured my dad hearing about it and worrying. And I said yes. I did not even hesitate. That is the embarrassing part. My kindness was automatic. I had 5,000 in savings. The rest I borrowed. I took a personal loan because my credit is good and I thought I was doing something noble. I told myself it would be short-term. 30 days? Maybe 60. Denise promised she had money coming. A settlement. A bonus. A deal. Always vague. I transferred the 12,000 the next day. And I have the bank record to prove it. She sent me a voice note full of sobbing gratitude. She said I was her angel. She said she would never forget it. She said, "I swear on my life I will make this right." Then she stopped answering my messages. Not immediately. At first she replied with hearts and soon. Then she replied with excuses. Then she replied with anger. Then she did not reply at all. By December I was making payments on the loan I had taken out to save her. Every month, money leaving my account because I could not watch my cousin drown without trying to throw a rope. I told myself Christmas Eve would be calm. I told myself we would eat and laugh and get through the night. I told myself Denise would not dare start something in front of the whole family. I did not understand that Denise is the kind of person who thinks holidays are stages. And she loves a stage. Christmas Eve that year was at my house. The house smelled like cinnamon and roasted turkey. The tree was up. The lights were warm. My teenagers were actually in decent moods, which felt like a miracle. My husband Tom was upstairs wrapping a last-minute gift. This is not a husband story. Tom is a good man. He was not the problem. He was the calm in the background. My mom arrived first. Then my aunt. Then my cousins. Then my dad with my brother helping him in. Dad looked thinner. But he smiled. And I felt that familiar ache in my chest, the one that comes with loving someone you might lose. Denise arrived an hour late. Of course she did. She swept in wearing a fitted cream sweater dress like Christmas Eve was a red carpet. Hair perfect. Makeup perfect. Lips glossy. A gift bag in one hand and a bottle of champagne in the other. She kissed my mom, then my aunt, then she came for me. She hugged me tight and said, loud enough for everyone, "There she is. The saint of the family." I felt my cheeks heat. Because it sounded like a compliment, but it was not. It was a pin. A little poke she could pretend was affection. I smiled anyway. I said, "Merry Christmas, Denise." She looked at my living room like she was inspecting it. Then she smiled and said, "You really do have such a nice life." The way she said it made my stomach turn. Because Denise never says that without meaning something else. It was like she was tasting the words and deciding if they belonged to her. At first, she behaved. She held court, as usual, but she kept it within the normal level of annoying. She took pictures with my dad. She posted them. She complimented my cooking loudly. She made jokes about being the fun cousin. Then the alcohol started warming her up. And Denise with a little champagne is like a match near gasoline. There was one moment that still makes me laugh in disbelief. My cousin Jenna was there with her husband Eric. They have been married about 8 years. Eric is handsome but in a normal way. Friendly eyes. A steady presence. The kind of man who makes you feel safe, not the kind who makes a scene. Denise drifted over to him like she was pulled by magnets. She laughed at everything he said. She touched his arm. She leaned in too close when he spoke. I watched her do it with that practiced innocence. Like she could always say, "What? I am just being friendly." Jenna noticed. I could tell because her smile tightened. Eric noticed too, and he looked uncomfortable, like a man trying to be polite while someone is stepping on his toes. Denise said, "Eric, you are such a good husband." She dragged out the word good. Then she looked at Jenna and said, "Some people are so lucky." Jenna laughed. But it was a laugh with teeth. Denise leaned closer to Eric and said, "If I had a man like you, I would never let him go." Then she winked. I saw Jenna's face change. And I thought, oh my God. Denise is going to do the thing she always does. She is going to poke until someone bleeds, and then act shocked. Jenna said, "Denise, you are being weird." Denise laughed like Jenna had told a hilarious joke. She said, "Oh please, I am just complimenting your man." Then she turned to Eric and said, "You know I am joking. Unless you want me not to be." Eric stepped back. He actually stepped back. He said, "I am going to check on the kids." And he walked away like he was escaping a fire. That should have been the moment someone stopped Denise. But families like mine are trained to smooth things over. They pretend they did not see. They whisper later. They keep the peace. Denise knew that. She counted on it. Dinner was served. We sat at the long table. Dad at one end. My mom beside him. My aunt across. Cousins scattered. Denise placed herself where she could be seen. I remember the glow of the candles. The clink of cutlery. The hum of polite conversation. For a few minutes it felt normal. Then Denise said, "I have something to share." I looked up. My heart did that fast, warning flutter. Denise stood holding her wineglass. She said, "It is Christmas Eve, and we should all be grateful." She smiled at my dad. Then she smiled at the room. Then she smiled at me. And she began. She told a story about my father's illness. She spoke like she was narrating a movie. She described how hard it had been, how emotional, how everyone had rallied. She talked about how she had been there. Then she said, "And of course Rachel made a big sacrifice." She paused. Letting the room turn toward me, I felt my throat tighten. Because I knew that tone. Denise was winding up. She said Rachel left her job. Or at least that is what she tells people. She laughed softly. Then she said, "But sometimes I wonder if it was less about love, and more about leverage." The room went still. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. I could hear my son inhale sharply. Denise looked around, enjoying the tension like it was dessert. She said, "I mean, come on." She shrugged. "All that time with your dad. All that influence. All those conversations." She smiled at my dad like she was doing him a favor. She was right there when the estate planning happened. My body went cold. Denise continued. She said, "I just hope no one was manipulated." She looked directly at me. Because we all know how easy it is to guilt someone when they are vulnerable. For a second, I could not speak. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Because Denise was not just insulting me. She was accusing me of something ugly, something that could stain me with my own family. My dad's face tightened. My mom's eyes widened. My brother sat up straighter. And Denise, in her cream sweater dress, smiled like she had delivered a clever punchline. I set my fork down. Very carefully. My hands were shaking, but I did not want to show it. I said, "Denise, what did you just imply?" Denise tilted her head. She said, "Oh, Rachel, do not do that." She waved her hand. "I am just asking questions. You know? Transparency." My aunt said, "Denise, stop." Denise ignored her. Denise said, "It is not personal." Then she smiled at the table. "It is just that some people know how to play the long game." My chest burned. My ears rang. I could feel humiliation crawling up my neck. Not because I was guilty. Because she was saying it out loud in front of everyone on Christmas Eve. I looked at my dad. He looked tired, confused, hurt. That hurt me the most. Denise had aimed her poison at me, but it splashed onto him. I stood up. My voice came out steadier than I felt. I said, "You want transparency? Fine." Denise's smile faltered. "Just a little." I said, "First, I did not leave my job. I reduced my schedule so Dad would not be alone at medical appointments. I can show you my HR letter if you want." Denise rolled her eyes. She said, "Okay, fine. But you were there. You had influence." I said, "Second, Dad's estate planning meeting included Dad, his attorney, and me. Dad asked me to be there because he trusted me. You were not invited because you are not immediate family." Denise's cheeks flushed. She laughed, but it sounded brittle. She said, "Wow, you are so dramatic." I said, "Third, you're not concerned about Dad being manipulated. You're concerned that your manipulation won't work." Denise slammed her glass down. She said, "Do not you dare." I said, "Oh, I dare. You came in here and accused me of using Dad. That is vile." Denise stood too. Her chair scraped loudly. She said, "You know what is vile? You acting like the hero while you quietly position yourself to take more." My brother said, "Denise, shut up." Denise snapped her head toward him. She said, "You stay out of it." Then she turned back to me. "I have seen how you do things, Rachel. You are not fooling me." My heart pounded. I could feel tears pressing behind my eyes. Not sadness, fury. I said, "Since we are doing accusations, let us talk about something real." Denise's eyes narrowed. She said, "Oh, here we go." I said, "You owe me $12,000. The room erupted. My mom gasped. My aunt whispered, "Oh my God." Jenna's mouth fell open. Denise laughed. But it was too loud. Too fake. She said, "Are you seriously doing this at Christmas dinner?" I said, "You did this. You brought up my father's estate. You accused me of manipulation. So yes, we are doing this." Denise said, "You are lying." She said it fast, like if she said it confidently enough it would become true. I reached under the sideboard. Because I had planned for this. Not because I wanted a fight. Because Denise had trained me. She always rewrote reality, so I learned to keep proof. I pulled out a folder. Denise blinked. "What is that?" I said, "Receipts." And I opened the folder right there at the table like I was in court. I took out a printed bank transfer confirmation. I slid it across the table. The amount was clear. $12,000. The date was clear. October 10th, 2024. The account numbers matched. Denise's smile fell off her face. I said, "This is the transfer. I sent it the morning after you called me crying." Denise pushed it back like it was dirty. She said, "That is not what that is." I said, "Oh, it is." I pulled out the text thread printouts. Screenshots, date and time visible. I read her words out loud. "Not all of them. Just enough. I promise to repay you. I will start with 2,000 next month. I swear on my life. You are my angel." Denise's face went red. She said, "Stop reading my private messages." I said, "They stopped being private when you stopped paying me." Denise looked around, trying to find support. My aunt stared at her. My mom looked like she might cry. My dad looked stunned. Jenna looked furious, and so did my brother. Denise said, "You do not understand." She made her voice smaller. She tried to pivot into victim mode. That was a complicated time. I said it was complicated for me too. I did not have $12,000. I borrowed $7,000 of it. I took out a loan because you told me you would be on the street. My mom whispered, "Rachel." She sounded hurt, like she was realizing how much I had carried quietly. I looked at her. I said, "I did not tell you because I did not want the family to turn on her. And look, she still turned the family on me." Denise snapped, "I did not ask you to borrow money." She said it like that excused everything. Like my kindness was my fault. I said, you did not have to ask. You begged, and I said yes because I am not built like you. Denise's eyes flashed. She said, do not talk to me like I am trash. I said, then stop acting like it. The table went silent again, but it was a different silence. This one was electric. Denise tried to recover. She said, okay, so you lent me money. So what? You have a great job. You are fine. You act like you are starving. I laughed once. A bitter sound. I said, you want to know what I did that month? I skipped a dental procedure. I pushed back repairs on my car. I picked up extra hours later while Dad was sick, so I could pay the loan I took out to rescue you. Denise scoffed. She said, you did not rescue me. You rescued your image. You love being the martyr, Rachel. My body shook with anger. I said, do you hear yourself? Denise leaned forward. She said, I hear you, and I hear what this is. She pointed at my dad. She wants to look like the devoted daughter. So when he passes, she gets the bigger piece. Denise said it like a verdict. My dad's voice finally cut through. He said, Denise. Stop. His voice was weak but firm. He looked at her like she was a stranger. Rachel did not manipulate me. I asked her to be there. I chose what I chose. Denise's eyes widened. She looked shocked that he had spoken against her. Then she did what Denise always does when a man does not give her what she wants. She tried to punish him emotionally. She said, wow. So that is it. You are just going to take her side. After everything I have done for you. Dad frowned. He said, what have you done for me, Denise? Oh damn. That was the moment the room collectively held its breath. Because Denise was not used to being questioned. She was used to being indulged. Denise stuttered. She said, I have visited. I have checked in. I have been supportive. Dad said you took pictures. He said it softly. But it landed hard. Denise's eyes glittered. She looked like she might cry. Then she turned her face toward the table and said, this is unbelievable. She pointed at me again. And you. You have always been jealous of me. I almost laughed. Jealous. Of a woman who borrows money and ruins holidays. I said, Denise, I have never wanted your life. I have never wanted to be you, but you have always wanted pieces of mine. Denise's mouth twisted. She said, oh, please. As Jenna spoke up, voice sharp. She said, you literally tried to flirt with my husband an hour ago. You were basically sitting in his lap. Denise spun toward her. She said, excuse me, I did not flirt with your husband. Jenna said, you did. She pointed. You said, unless you want me not to be. You said it right in front of me. Denise laughed in disbelief. She said, that is a joke. You are so insecure, Jenna. Jenna stood. Her chair scraped. She said, insecure. No. I am just not blind. You do this to every woman in this family. If a man is decent, you test him like it is a game. Denise's eyes narrowed. She said, maybe your husband likes attention. Jenna's face went white with anger. My husband Tom said, Denise? His voice was low. A warning. Denise ignored him too. Then my aunt, Denise's own mother, whispered, Denise, please. Denise snapped, do not tell me please. My aunt flinched. That was another moment that made the room feel dangerous. Because Denise does not talk to her mother like that in public. Or she never used to. Denise was unraveling. And she was dangerous when she unraveled. She turned back to me. She said, you know what, Rachel? I am done with this. I do not owe you $12,000. She jabbed her finger in the air. That money was a gift. You gave it because you wanted to help. You do not get to weaponize it now. I felt something inside me go cold and clear. This is what Denise does. She takes your generosity and rewrites it as entitlement. I said it was not a gift. I reached into the folder again. And I pulled out the screenshot of her own message. The one that mattered most. I read it slowly, so no one could miss it. I promise to repay you. I will start with 2,000 next month. I swear on my life. I slid it toward her. Denise stared at it. For a second she looked like a person who had been caught. Then she did the thing that truly shocked me. She smiled. She said, "Wow. So you have been planning this. You have been collecting evidence like a psycho." My mother gasped. My brother swore under his breath. Denise said, "This is why people do not trust you, Rachel. You pretend to be kind, but you are calculating." She looked around the room seeking allies. She is trying to destroy me. I laughed again, but this time it was almost calm. I said, "Denise, you destroyed you." She snapped, "No. You are doing this because you hate me." She glanced at my dad. "And because you want his money." I felt my eyes sting. I said, "Stop talking about my father like he is a prize." Denise leaned forward, voice suddenly sweet. She said, "Okay. Let us talk about prizes." Her gaze slid across the table. Then she said, "Maybe if you were more fun, people would choose you." She looked at Tom for a fraction too long. Then she smiled at me. "Maybe that is why you cling to money." The room erupted in outrage. My husband stood. He said, "Denise, you need to leave." His voice was steady, final. Denise laughed. She said, "Oh, Tom, do not tell me you have never noticed." My face burned. But the humiliation was not mine. It was hers. Because everyone saw her. All the way. Jenna said, "Get out." My brother said, "Now." My mom said, "Denise, stop." Denise's eyes darted around. And for the first time I saw a flicker of fear. Not because she felt remorse. Because she realized the room had turned. But Denise does not leave quietly. She never has. She grabbed her coat. She grabbed her bag. Then she turned back and threw one more bomb. She said, "Fine. I will leave. But do not come crying when the truth comes out." She pointed at me. "When people realize what you did. You are not a hero, Rachel. You are a con artist with a casserole dish." My dad's voice cracked. He said, "Denise." He sounded broken. "Get out of my daughter's house." Denise froze. That was the final door closing. She stared at him, stunned. Then she stormed out. The front door slammed. Hard. The tree lights blinked like they were startled. No one spoke for a long moment. We sat there in the aftermath, forks untouched, food cooling. A holiday dinner turned into evidence review. I excused myself and went into the kitchen. My hands were shaking so badly I could not even pick up a plate. I leaned against the counter and finally let tears fall. Not because she hurt my feelings. Because she had tried to poison my father's last Christmas Eve with suspicion. Because she had tried to turn my sacrifice into greed. Because she had taken $12,000 from me, money I did not even fully have, and then stood in my home and called me a manipulator. I felt rage in my ribs. I felt grief in my throat. And I felt something else too. Relief. Because the mask was off. And it was off in front of everyone. Tom came into the kitchen. He put a hand on my shoulder. He said, "You did nothing wrong." I nodded, but I could barely breathe. I said, "I cannot believe she said that about Dad." My voice cracked. "She made him feel like a wallet." Tom said, "She wanted you to react." He looked me in the eyes. "Do not give her that." Then he added, "But we are not letting this go." We went back to the table. We finished dinner in a quieter way. My dad held my hand for a moment and said, "I am sorry." I said, "No. This is not on you." After dessert, Jenna pulled me aside. She said, "She has been sending Eric messages." My stomach flipped. I said, "What?" Jenna showed me her phone. There were messages from Denise. Late night, photos that crossed a line. I felt my mouth go dry. Because it was worse than I thought. It was not just a few comments. It was a pattern. Jenna said I did not want to bring it up tonight. She swallowed. But she is escalating. She said if Eric does not respond, she will tell people he tried something. Oh my God. Denise was not just messy, she was malicious. And I realized something in that moment. Denise was not embarrassed by being exposed. She was angry that her control was slipping. That night, after everyone left, I sat at my dining table with my folder open. The bank transfer. The texts. The voice note. The dates. I opened my email and searched her name. And I found something I had forgotten. A message from her months earlier that said, "If you help me now, I will sign something if you need it." I had ignored it at the time. Because I had trusted her words. Now I saw it for what it was. A willingness to say anything. The next morning, December 25th, I did not post family photos. I did not pretend it was fine. I called my lawyer friend Lee, not for divorce but for advice. She said, "You can treat this like a personal loan. You can send a demand letter. And yes, you can sue her. Sue my cousin." The words sounded extreme. But then I looked at my bank app. I looked at the loan balance. And I remembered Denise's smile while she called it a gift. I said, "Do it." On December 27th, Denise posted a long message online. No names, but everyone knew. She wrote about betrayal. About being attacked at Christmas. About fake family who envy her. She implied I had manipulated my father and was now trying to ruin her. People commented hearts. Women I did not know said, "Stay strong." Denise soaked it up. She loved the sympathy. Then I posted nothing. 2 days after that post, she escalated again. She started a family group chat, the kind that lights up your phone like a fire alarm. She wrote, "I did not want to say this, but Rachel is exploiting Uncle Frank's condition." She added she quit her job so she could pressure him and now she is suing me to keep me quiet. Then she dropped a screenshot of a cropped message from me, cut to make it look like I was demanding money from a sick man. My hands went cold when I saw it. Because it was not just gossip. It was a deliberate frame job. And the chat filled with confused replies. A few people typed, "Is this true?" A few typed, "This is not the time." And Denise kept pushing, like she was trying to flood the room before anyone could think. So I responded once. Just once. I wrote, "Stop lying." Then I attached 3 images. The full bank transfer confirmation for $12,000. The message where she promised repayment. And the voice note transcript where she swore on her life. I ended with one line. "I borrowed money to help you, and you are repaying me with accusations about my father." The chat went silent for almost a minute. Then Jenna wrote, "Denise, leave Rachel alone." My brother wrote, "Delete this." And my dad, who rarely texts, wrote, "Denise, you are wrong." That was the moment Denise lost control of the narrative in real time. I did not argue online. I did not defend myself publicly. I let her perform. Because I had learned something. When Denise is given space, she always overplays her hand. In early January, my lawyer friend helped me draft a demand letter. We sent it certified mail. It stated the amount. $12,000. It included dates and documentation. It gave her 14 days. Denise called my mother in hysterics. She said I was threatening her. She said I was abusive. She said I was trying to steal her future. My mom called me crying. She asked if it was true. Not because she doubted me. Because she could not believe Denise had dragged us here. I told my mom it is true. I helped her. And she thinks kindness is weakness. My mom went quiet. Then she said, I am sorry I kept telling you that is just Denise. That apology felt like something loosening in my chest. Denise did not pay. She sent a message. One message. She wrote, "You will regret this." 2 days later, Jenna called me again. She was shaking. She said Denise had messaged Eric from a new number. She said Denise had sent him a photo. A photo that was not appropriate. And then a message that said, "I can make your life really hard if you ignore me." Jenna said, "I want to go to the police." Eric looked sick with stress. He said he never responded. He said he tried to block her. He said he did not tell Jenna earlier because he did not want to ruin the holiday. Denise had aimed at Jenna's marriage because Jenna had challenged her. Denise had aimed at mine because she wanted to humiliate me. And Denise had aimed at my father because she wanted to scare me into backing down. This is the part people do not understand about women like Denise. They do not stop when they are caught. They escalate. So we escalated too. But in a smarter direction. Jenna and Eric saved everything. Screenshots. Call logs. New numbers. Dates. Times. I added it to my folder. Because Denise's story was no longer just about money. It was about her pattern of coercion and threats. Mid-January, Denise showed up at my dad's house. Dad told me about it later. He said she arrived with tears and a pie. He said she begged him to talk to me. He said she tried to tell him I was turning the family against her. Then she said something that made my dad's voice turn hard. She told him he should change his will. She said, "If you leave everything to Rachel, people are going to talk." Dad told her to leave. He said he had never heard him speak like that to anyone. Not even when he was angry. He said, "Denise, you have become someone I do not recognize." Denise left, and she slammed his screen door. My dad, a gentleman, cried after she left. Not for her, for the family illusion dying. When Dad told me, I felt a heavy sadness. Then I felt anger. Then I felt certainty. I filed. I did not enjoy it. But I did it. Denise responded by telling everyone I was greedy. That I was suing her to punish her. That I did not need the money. That I was unstable. Then she tried a new angle. She called my workplace. She did not speak to my boss directly. But she called the main line and asked questions. She implied I was committing fraud against my father. My workplace reported it to me? Because they know me. Because I am steady. Because allegations without evidence are just noise. But hearing that she had tried to touch my livelihood made my hands go numb. This was not a family disagreement anymore. This was an attack. My lawyer friend said, "We can respond. But do not get emotional. Get factual." So I got factual. We sent Denise a second letter. This one included a warning. Defamation. Harassment. And a notice that we had evidence of her contacting a married man in our family and threatening him. Denise went silent for a week. Then she called me. I almost did not answer. But I did. Because I wanted to hear her tone when she realized the game had shifted. She said, "You think you are so smart. You always did. You cannot win this." I said I already did. I kept my voice calm. "You took $12,000 from me. You accused me of manipulating my father. You tried to mess with Jenna's marriage. And now you are threatening me. So yes, I will win." Denise hissed, "You are a snake." I said no, I am just done being your soft landing. She laughed. Then she said, "You know what, Rachel? I could ruin you if I wanted. I have stories. People will believe me." I said, "Go ahead. And I will hand them the bank transfer." Silence. Then she said, "You borrowed money to give me. So you are not even rich. Look at you." My cheeks burned. But I breathed. Because that line told me everything. Denise did not see generosity as love, she saw it as power. And she wanted that power. I said, Denise, I borrowed money because I believed you. And you used that belief like a weapon. You do not get to shame me for being kind. You should be ashamed for exploiting it. She shouted, shut up. Then she hung up. In March, the court date approached. Denise showed up with a new boyfriend. A tall man with a tight suit and a confused expression. She walked in like she was on a reality show. She tried to hug me in the hallway. In front of people, she said loud, Rachel, can we not do this? Her eyes looked glossy. Her voice was sugary. I stepped back. I said, do not touch me. She whispered, you are making a scene. I said, you made the scene on Christmas Eve. Inside the hearing, Denise claimed the money was a gift. She said I never asked for repayment. She said I was retaliating because I was jealous. Jealous of her beauty, her freedom, her life. The judge looked tired. Then my lawyer friend handed over the exhibits. The bank transfer. The messages. The voice note. The line where Denise wrote she would start with 2,000 next month. And the message where she wrote, if you help me now, I will sign something if you need it. Denise's face changed. The judge asked her, is this your message? Denise said, it is out of context. Then the judge played the voice note. Denise crying, promising, thanking, swearing on her life. The courtroom went quiet. Denise's new boyfriend looked at her like he had just met her. The judge ruled in my favor, full amount, plus fees. Denise's mouth fell open. She said, this is insane. You cannot do this to me. The judge said, ma'am, you did this to yourself. On the way out, Denise cornered me in the hallway. Her eyes were wild. She whispered, you will pay for this. I will tell everyone what you did to your dad. I leaned close. I kept my voice low, so only she could hear. I said, say it again. Say it where people can record you. She froze. Because Denise is brave when she thinks you are scared. But she is a coward when she senses you are prepared. She turned and stormed out. After the ruling, something strange happened. People in the family started calling me, not to scold me, to confess. One cousin said Denise had borrowed money from her too. 1,000 here, 500 there, never fully repaid. My aunt admitted she had been quietly covering Denise's bills for years. My mother said Denise had once hinted that she could get close to Tom if she wanted. My mother had brushed it off as Denise being Denise. Jenna told me Denise had tried the same flirtation with Eric's cousin at a wedding years earlier. I remembered the wedding. Denise had danced with him too closely. Everyone had laughed. Now it was not funny. Piece by piece the pattern became a picture. And the picture was ugly. In May, Denise posted another vague message online. This time she talked about predatory women who use sick parents for money. She did not name me. But she did not have to. She tagged my town. She tagged my aunt. She tagged my brother. That was when my dad did something I will never forget. He wrote a letter. A real letter. On paper. He signed it. He had it notarized. In that letter he stated that he made his estate decisions freely. He stated that I, Rachel, did not pressure him. He stated that Denise had attempted to influence him after Christmas Eve. He stated that he did not want her involved. He sent copies to his attorney. He gave one to me. He gave one to my brother. He gave one to my mother. When he handed it to me, he said, I will not let her rewrite my life. His eyes filled with. He said, I am sorry I did not stop her sooner. I held his hand. I said, you are stopping her now. And that is the quiet truth of my story. Christmas Eve did not ruin us. It revealed us. Denise did not just accuse me of manipulating my father. She tried to make everyone suspicious of care itself. She wanted to turn love into a transaction, sacrifice into greed. And in doing so, she lost something she thought she could never lose: the family's patience. This Christmas Eve, it will be different. Denise will not be at my table. There will be no cream sweater dress, no stage, no microphone moment, no poison disguised as a joke. There will be peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from swallowing your feelings. The kind of peace that comes from finally saying, enough. If you have a Denise in your family, I want you to hear this. You do not have to keep forgiving partial repayments and endless excuses. You do not have to keep being the soft place someone lands after they set their own life on fire. And you do not have to let anyone accuse you of greed when all you did was show up with love. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is make the truth public and let consequences do their work. My name is Rachel, and this was The Last Straw. If you enjoyed this story, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe.